Good morning everyone, welcome back to another video. Now first thing I like to do is grab myself a cuppa and go and survey the job. So that's what we're going to do. We're working outside today. Now it says no rain, but might be lucky. Yeah, we're going to work on the back of the wall of the cottage outside. We've got some ivy removal, some line pointing. So yeah, let's just see what's what round here. Yeah, okay. Yeah, ease our way into the day. That's the best way. You don't want to be rushing around first thing in the morning. So this is how far I've got so far. Yep, it's not the neatest of work, but I didn't intend it to be. It was just purely structural and functional. Wipe the joint right into the gaps. Now when you're doing this, I mean, this is quite a tricky thing to point up, because the gaps are different widths and depths, and the stones are different shapes, and the surfaces are all over the place. But as a guide, you kind of want to go with this sort of stuff twice the depth of the joint really. You need to be probably looking at about 20 mil of lime in the joint. When you're raking out, you don't want to whack a chisel in there, tapered chisel. That could damage the stone. So yeah, you have to have the right tools for the right job. Now lots of people in the comments kindly made a comment, which I appreciate. They said about jet washing this wall off to get the ivy off. Well, the trouble is with this ivy, it's so well rooted into the clay infill. By the time I washed the ivy out, it would take out too much of the joint, the depth of the joint, and it just damaged the wall. So the same with shot blasting really. If I had it shot blasted, because the clay infill, whether it can be seen that easy here, it's so soft, it would be removed quicker than the ivy, if you know what I mean. So yeah, it is a tricky job. Sometimes you just have to use your hands and a bit of time. It's just how it is. Sometimes there's no shortcuts to all these things. So this kind of stone rubble type wall is slightly different to the uniformed brick. You can go slightly deeper with the joint. You have to try and ensure that the back of the joint is sort of level, not too uneven, which is quite difficult. When you can see there, you can't get a joint on there. So yeah, it comes with its challenges. That's why I like to use a paintbrush after and force it in the joints. Another way of doing it, if it was kind of a different construction, maybe like a builder's piping bag, that can help, but I find it takes just as long to keep loading it than the traditional method. Swings and roundabouts, as they say. Also, it's very important to get your mix right. Don't add too much water to it. With lime, the more you work it, the kind of more pliable and wetter it becomes. And then the water doesn't evaporate quick and cause cracking when it dries. Yeah, you have to kind of do a little bit of research on it. You have to gauge the weather conditions, what the wall's made from, various stuff like that. Yeah, how long does lime last? Well, as a guide, it can last hundreds of years, but probably about 100 years. So yeah, I reckon it'll see me out this one if I do it right. So there's a bit more ivy to remove down this side. Might try a few different methods, but what I mustn't do is all these little stones like that. If I hit it with something too abrasive or powerful, it'll just smash all them out, which I don't really want to be doing. Yeah, the ivy really has took hold. I mean, this has been done probably over the last 50 years, but we're slowly winning the battle. Now, as you can see, up to that point, it's already been pointed, admittedly with cement, but when I first moved here, the soil, the earth, come right across to here. I've had all this dug out to kind of lower the land, make it workable so I can get scaffolds here and reduce the amount of water gain in there. So I've kind of sloped it away that way. Hopefully in future it will pay dividends. Now, I did also dig a very deep trench here at the base that went down about 1 metre, and there is a membrane running along, so I've kind of reduced the amount of water gain into the wall, which helps inside as well. And then once we get up the top, yeah, the roofs need addressing. It does need all new gutters, but time and money can't all be done at once. Now, when it comes to dealing with the roof and the gutters, it will need a new wall plate because that looks pretty damaged in places, thanks to the leaking gutters and the ivy. So whilst the weather is on my side, I think I'll knock up a mix of mortar and work on this area here, get that pointed up, and then work my way along and start trying different things with this ivy removal. Yeah, terrible stuff. Okay, let's get a mix going. Yeah, when it does pour down a rain, I often come out and check the gutters and see where it's leaking. And when I ain't moving buckets about indoors, we've got a few little leaks indoors. I've been up on the roof and I can't find the actual leak, so it's probably hitting something and running down. Yeah, they definitely come with their challenges, these old properties. Including the upkeep of the garden. Yeah, my strimmer has give up the ghost, but I will need to get it fixed. Must keep on top of this. Yep, everything is growing so fast now, including the weeds and the brambles. Okay, I've got my lime mortar mixed up. Just going to let that sit for a little bit, and then going to use this tool here. Just sort of make sure I've got adequate depth in the joint. And once we've cleaned it all up, brushed it down, we'll give it a good spray so it doesn't pull the moisture from the lime too quickly. Yeah, it's kind of like a stone rubble infill. Not the best to work with, but I didn't get a choice. It's kind of like the clay, maybe the clay slurry. I'm not quite so sure of this construction, but maybe it was poured in from above like a wet mix of watery clay to fill in between. It is solid all the way through with stone. Yeah. It hasn't done too bad up till now, to be honest with you. The more you look, the more you see. I think the key with anything like these jobs is to look at what you're doing, but don't look too far ahead. Take it on board, but concentrate on the job in hand and just work your way through it. Mix it up a little bit, go and do something different, then come back to it. Come back with a bit more vigour. It stops you wearing out those body parts. Equally, it's important to get all that dust, the loose stuff off. Don't mix up too much lime in one go neither. You can mix it all up dry, ready, so you've got the same consistent batch. It does pay to measure it out equally. Like to wet down the previously limed area as well, so that doesn't pull out too much moisture. It's not too bad because it has been raining. Okay, we'll let that soak in. Do a bit more raking up there, and we'll come back to this. Now if you've got a really deep void, you don't want to be putting any more than an inch of thickness in it at one particular pass, so you'll need to gauge it as you go. There's certainly worse things to be doing, isn't there? Once you get in the swing of it, switch off. Listen to the birds and the wildlife. And only look at that area and you're fine. Looks even better when you squint your eyes and step back. Good thing about lime is any cracks that appear later on down the line, 9 times out of 10 it will kind of recarbonate with the air, the moisture, and seal those gaps up. It does kind of move a little, which is why it's so good for these old buildings. Okay, that's looking okay. Like I say, step back and it looks even better. Look, see, squint your eyes. Looks almost perfect from here, doesn't it? You know, there's plenty of great teachers out there online, you know, much better than I am, but hey, I can do it to the level that I need it to be. That's good enough for me, and hopefully, you know, you'll learn a little bit as well. We're all learning every day after all. Okay, right, let's work on this section. Tom's been a great help to me as well. He's mucked in with this and got stuck in. He's got, you know, a busy schedule as well, so where he can help, he certainly does. So ideally you get the back of the joint that you're raking out flat and the same depth. It just makes for a better joint. Not always possible in a wall like this, as you can see, but that's what we're aiming for. I don't really want to be going any thicker, about 1 inch or so. Sometimes can't be odds. That brush down. Always go over a bit further than what you're going to point, so you're not digging into it and you start raking out again. Had to just clean my paintbrush. It was a little bit hard and it was dragging in this area, so just give it a clean off. Make sure it's not too stiff because it will just drag everything out. If it was round the front and I needed it to be a bit neater, I'd spend a bit more time, you know, working on its looks as well, but that's okay. Get this in now, clean out the joints a bit. It's important that the face of the stone has been cleaned up as well. That's better. Yep, let's chance another mix. Now, a few people have said about why not use like the icing bag method, but it's not really practical for this type of wall. There's lots of times where you have to make a joint up, sometimes a dummy joint, you know, to continue the line, and you just wouldn't get that with you know, the bag method, and then afterwards you'd have to work it in anyway. So yeah, different jobs require different things really. How long that goes in. Well, we're making good progress. It hasn't rained. Can't always rely on that weather forecast, can you? Sometimes you just got to go for it. I would just like to thank everyone for their support, following me and watching my video. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Seems to help the algorithm. You know, us YouTubers are all dependent on the algorithm. So leave us a thumbs up, subscribe, and in that way it'll help push the video. So once we've got a decent amount in, we'll just take a paintbrush, soft brush, and just work it in. So this wall really is a challenge because it's, you know, it drops back a couple of inches and sticks out, and sometimes there's no gap there at all to fill. So it has been a bit of a challenge. Hey, what's life without a challenge? Just when you think you got it all out. I've got a little bit left in there, just a bit of brushing off to do. I think I'm going to call it a day for the video. It does look like it's going to rain and I don't really want to be caught out in it, so by the time I finish up this area we'll be good. Okay, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye for now. Let's see if I can find another wire brush.